You just want to kick us off by telling us your name and talking about where you're currently living?
Sure. My name is Jackie, and I'm currently living in Meridian, Idaho. I've only been in Meridian for about 3 months. I was previously living in Caldwell, which is 15 or so minutes away. Both are within 30 minutes of the Boise metro proper area.
Excellent. And what about your experience living in Meridian made you want to do this interview with us?
There's a lot of people moving here from a lot of different places, and I think there's a lot of good information, and for as much good information, there's bad information. So if I can help clarify that for some people, I would love to do that.
Excellent. I hope you're it sounds like you're in the right place. Start things off on a positive note. What are some things that you really like about where you're living?
I really like the fact that the great grand outdoors is just outside my doorstep. Literally, you can get to where you somewhere you feel you are just completely disconnected within 20 minutes. And for me, that's awesome because I get overwhelmed with I moved here from San Francisco, and I moved here because of just the sheer wall to wall humanity I lived with my entire life, and I didn't want to have that just people not breathing on your neck every minute every day, and you couldn't get away from it. Here I can, like I said, I can walk across the street to a field. Nothing there, a bunch of yaks, Norwegian yaks or something. I'm like, oh, I'll go look at the yaks today. They don't talk to me. They don't talk back. I can tell them anything. It's great.
Excellent. If someone were to come visit you for the day, is there anything local that you would recommend that they have to go do or see, or that you would take them to?
No, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one because I do come from somewhere there's everything to go see. You know what I mean? And here I'm like, uh, well, there's not. It's not a unless you're into outdoor adventures. Idaho has a very limited amount of things to do. I guess you could say for your average big city dweller, it's like it could be considered boring, but it's not. Any within, like I said, 20 minutes, you can go to Bogus Basin for skiing. You could go to any number of lakes or rivers for fishing, for rafting, for water skiing, anything. There's a whitewater rafting park a couple like an hour from here. Um, it really is wonderful for those of us that like the outdoors. But if you're not an outdoors person, you might find yourself a little stunted. There's all kinds of activities and things to do, but in the winter everything's shut down. It's snowing. It's kind of and that's the boring part for me personally. Now, not everyone has that problem. I come from a land of overstimulation, so
Nice. On the flip side, are there some things that you wish you could change about Meridian or that you don't like as much?
I wish they had a Meridian and Idaho in general. I wish they had better public transportation. This is not just for myself, but for the environment. When I moved here, there was no traffic, and I mean no traffic, except for maybe a tractor in front of me. And literally now there's AM traffic. They've widened the freeway. They've done a good job trying to keep up with the infrastructure to support the people coming into the state, with the exception of public transport. I don't want to say there's none. There's a bus system. From what I understand, it comes when it feels like it. There's a schedule, but they don't abide by it. Like if you need to use to get to work, good luck. And that, to me, that's a major drawback for the shining star that we have here tonight. It's a beautiful place, wonderful people. No public transportation.
Excellent. Overall, with the good and the bad, would you recommend someone else move to Meridian?
Yeah, I would say so. It would depend upon their reasons for leaving. If they were like, I want to go somewhere different and this is boring, and then no, don't come here. If you're looking for like excitement, this isn't really the place to go. If you're looking to raise your family, to have small children, to keep your family unit intact and feeling safe, and lots of things to do, like kid oriented, beautiful, amazing. If you're coming up here for the nightlife scene, I would really recommend going elsewhere. It's not that they have no nightlife. They do. They've got some great areas downtown, beautiful restaurants, awesome food. There's a couple of really great local restaurants that source only locally, only organic, and it's amazing. But unless you want just those two restaurants, it's not really exciting.
Mhm. So you mentioned living in San Francisco previously. Have you lived anywhere else or just the two?
I've lived in San Francisco, San Diego. I've lived anywhere in the Bay Area. I've lived all over. I've lived in San Diego for a couple of years for college. I lived in Norfolk, Virginia, and Richmond, Virginia. Um, and I've spent a lot of time in New Mexico.
Oh.
But I've been a little around.
Of all of that bouncing around, which move was the most dramatic, do you think?
Uh, hmm. Honestly, the move to Idaho, I think, because the other ones I knew I was not going to be there forever. And when I moved to Idaho, I was like, "That's all right. That's it. I'm pulling up roots and I'm going. I'm gone." um, and so it was like traumatic in the sense that I had to pack every little thing I owned and bring it with me or get rid of it. The other moves, it was like, "Hey, mom, dad, can you watch my stuff? If I put it in the garage, whatever." This time it was pick it up and put it in the truck. If you want to keep it, you got to pack it. And it's only about an 8 to 10 hour drive from San Francisco to Boise, believe it or not. But when you're in a monster moving truck, it was like 14 hours and it was snowing and it was just not a good day to move. So that's the only real trauma behind it. The non-trauma was the fact that I could buy a house by myself without 15 roommates. And at home I couldn't even consider buying a home in San Francisco, anywhere in San Francisco. So the thought of homeownership was very enticing to me, and I did own my home for almost 20 years until COVID hit, and that's a different story.
Mhm. Do you have any tips for people who might be making a similar move, like going from the city to the country life?
Be prepared. Make sure it's what you want, and make sure the one thing that stands out in my mind, and it's not a city to country move per se, it's a demographics, and as far as politics are concerned, being from the Bay Area, I am a different type, I guess you could say. And in Idaho, they are way, way red. They're so red. They're redder than my hair. It's I'm a blue girl in a red state, and that's very frustrating for me sometimes. I caucused for Bernie Sanders here and thought, you know what, you're gonna get lynched. But it was totally worth it. I mean, I wish he would have made it, but it was very eye opening to me because it did show me there's a lot more open, a lot more people that think like I do here than I realized. When I did do the caucus for Bernie, I was like, holy! I was waiting for like 2 people at a bar. You know what I mean? But it was huge crowd in a school and just hundreds and hundreds of people. I didn't expect that at all. So that was refreshing. But I would say make sure you do your research in the political landscape that you're moving into because it may be very different from yours.
Excellent. I think that's good advice. Those were kind of all my questions that I had for you today. Do you have anything you want to share before we sign off?
Um, Idaho's awesome. I love it here. I really do. It's a great place, and there's some wonderful people here. Um, Very heavy Mormon influence, which I didn't. Again, something I didn't research because at home it's not in your face. Kind of everyone just does their thing, and you hear speak your language, and you do your religion and your politics, and people don't talk about that kind of stuff. It's very in your face here. Your religion, your politics, the way you live your life. People want to know. And I'm like, I don't want to know you. I don't want you to know. So it's that's the one thing I would suggest, and that's for all the moves I've ever made. Going back to Virginia, kind of the same thing. New Mexico, kind of the same thing. It was like, oh, so that's how you do things here. Like it's gonna be different. You're in the same country, but you're in a different state. Even different areas of different states behave differently, and that's something that took me a while to figure out. Like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Try to assimilate a little bit until you get comfortable and figure out what you're doing. That's the biggest piece of advice I could give anybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much for talking to me today. It was great to get to know you and hear your story.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Great. Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.